Good morning and welcome to Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion with me, Pastor Amanda. This morning I thought we'd do it fireside. Isn't that great? So we are looking at Second Corinthians chapter 12 today. And kind of remember, these are partials of letters that we are looking at. And chapter 12 begins with, if it's necessary to boast, I will boast. And what we find is that Paul is going to call on the traditional way of um, kind of pushing his authority to help them know that he truly is a man of God. And so he goes into this for us today, I think is a little strange. But he talks about 14 years ago, I was caught up in the third heaven, whether in body or out of body, I do not know, but God knows. And so he talks about being caught up and getting to go to paradise. He was able to witness heaven. And this was the way that people would assert their authority in whatever religion that they were a part of at this time. Anybody who was able to have visions was considered to be somebody of great worth in the kingdom of God. And so Paul is saying, no, I'm one of those guys. And in some of my commentary reading that I did, they also noted that this experience he had is separate from his call story. And his call story was where he was blinded and he heard Jesus's voice, and then he went to Ananias who taught him everything he needed to know. That this one is actually a separate time. This happened differently. It was on one of his trips from Jerusalem, if the timing is correct according to Galatians. And so we can recognize that Paul's journey has many times in which he encounters the supernatural at different times in his life. And so he speaks to that. But he also speaks, this is where we get it, he speaks to the thorn in his side or the thorn in his flesh. And because he gives us no more information than just this, we all we can do is come up with ideas. And there is an array of ideas of what this thorn in his side could be. It goes everywhere from people thinking that maybe he had epilepsy, maybe he had depression, maybe he walked with a limp. Hey, there's a cat in my video. Live video needs a cat. So anyways, some people say that maybe he had some kind of malady that he wasn't able to deal with. There was one commentator that I read who said maybe it was his wife was the thorn in his side. And so there, Paul gives us no more than that he has this thing, though, that he is asked to be removed from him 3 times. Now, it's very interesting because sometimes the way we understand the good and bad in this world is very different. And Paul says that this thorn was given to him as a messenger of Satan to torment him. Now, our development of how we understand Satan has changed a lot through the centuries. But there was a time, especially in the Hebrew understanding of it, where Satan was actually worked with God. They worked together because God would say, like, if you go tempt this person, they're just going to prove their faithfulness to me. And your temptation helps them prove their faithfulness to me. And so they kind of worked together. And so for Paul to say this, it wasn't like Satan's some evil guy there to hurt him, but Satan is there to help him prove his faithfulness, help him to prove his commitment to his mission, to his journey, and that nothing can stop him. And so it's a little bit of a different understanding of how God is and God working with Satan, so to speak. And so that's kind of interesting to see in that today. And so Paul goes on to say then that even in my weakness, I'm glad to boast, so that the power of Christ may dwell within me. Therefore, I'm content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities for the sake of Christ. For whenever I am weak, then I am strong. And then he goes on to recognizing that there are still some struggles between him and this congregation, that there is a burden that he has never wanted to put upon them. And he says, I've never wanted to put a burden on them. Like, a parent is not supposed to be a burden to their children, and I've done my best not to do that. And I've even sent you others who have done their best to not be a burden to you. And so he goes, I feel like there's still some animosity between us. And he just speaks the truth up that he loves them. He calls them beloved. And he's aware, he goes, but I don't think that I'm going to have some miraculous change to be this person you think I'm going to be. And he goes, I'm aware that I don't think you're going to become the people I want you to be. And if anything, I'm more afraid that you've turned back to your ways, that you have not repented of the impurity, sexual immorality, and lasciviousness that some of you have practiced. And that's how he ends this chapter. It is just kind of this concern that no matter what's going on, that they haven't changed. He hasn't changed, and maybe they're at an impasse. And he just kind of makes us aware. Now, and I have to admit, this kind of seems different than the rest of the letter. And of course, it should sound different because it's part of multiple letters. And so this could be like one of his last letters to them, or it could be at a different time. It could be in the middle. It could have come before. But just recognizing that this particular one, though, has a sense of that there's not there's a potential that there won't be reconciliation. And so it's kind of a sad one. But what I think is important to recognize in here for today is, consider that all of us at some point in time are going to have something that happens in our lives that can try to take us astray from our journey. And we can call it Satan, we can call it depression, we can call it just the vices that we have in our life. We can call it a whole bunch of things, but that's part of our journey. And what's important, though, is that we can call on Christ to give us the strength to get us through those moments. And I definitely hear Paul saying that. We need to continually, constantly call on Christ in all of our situations to bring us back. And so that's kind of where I'm going to leave off today. Thanks for joining me with Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion. And I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.